This is episode 64 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. The Browns easily dispatched the Chicago Bears and took care of business pretty handily. The Bengals did the same in Pittsburgh against the fucking Steelers for the first time since 2015, and the second largest margin of victory in Pittsburgh ever, behind when they beat them in 1995, 27-9, which is insane, by the way, because that was the 90s Bengals, and that was the year the Steelers went to the Super Bowl in the 90s. They lost to the Cowboys, but they still went to the Super Bowl. That was like, you know, the fact that we, like, our largest margin of victory ever in Pittsburgh was in 1995 kind of blows my mind. But anyway,
it's still funny to watch.
Do what?
Still funny to watch.
Oh, it was so cathartic, so fantastic. The Bengals also have a quick turnaround this week, so we're also going to do the preview for the matchup with Jacksonville on Thursday Night Football. Since we won't be releasing another episode before Thursday, so we're going to do the preview on this episode. So it might be a little bit of a longer episode, then the next episode might be a little bit of a shorter episode, but we'll see what happens. Finally, the Bengals whooped the Steelers' ass this weekend. Because why, Thomas?
Because the Steelers still suck.
Steelers still fucking suck. Let's go!
Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
Somebody's really freaking hyped.
Damn right, I'm fucking hyped. I've been waiting for this for so long, man. Like,
y'all beat the Steelers last year.
We beat that. Ryan Finley was our quarterback. Like, Joe Burrow was already hurt. Nobody cared. When we played with Joe Burrow, didn't win. It was interesting. Joe Burrow mentioned in his press conference, he's like, you know, hey, it's nice to get my first ever division win. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, is that right? Holy shit, that's right. That's Joe Burrow's first ever division win. That's depressing.
Not gonna be his last. Don't worry.
No. This team is good, dude. Like, I mean, I know the three teams we've played so far are, you know, there's maybe a little bit of questionableness about, you know, if those teams are any good, and then, like, you know, we did lose to the Bears, but it was a very close game. But
you know, I'm not. Why am I not like I've been sitting here saying the Bengals we're going to be good all summer. I've been saying it all summer, like how good the freaking Bengals are. And now everybody else is just like, oh, these Bengals, man, they're tough. These Bengals, they came out of nowhere. Like, no, they did. I've been saying all summer, just pay attention to this freaking team. They're good.
Look, I got
saying it all freaking summer.
I got some shit.
And you know that. And like you said here, I was even more of a believer than you were in some instances.
In certain cases, I suppose, yeah.
I was like, look at it, and then now the Bengals are good, and everyone's like, oh well, can't believe the Bengals are good. Like, oh well, I can. Well, who's seen this coming? I did. I seen this coming.
Well, we
literally.
I've got a couple of things to say about that, sort of more so like the national narrative around this team. But we'll talk about that.
The national narrative is always wrong, though. The national narrative is there to pander to the freaking coast and the base.
Well,
that ain't nothing new.
I'm not just talking about national television. I'm talking about, like, everybody out there. I'm talking about, like, you know, Packers fans and Chargers fans, and, you know, like fans that have nothing to do with, you know, anything, that, you know, just have the same perspective on the Bengals, regardless of the fact that it doesn't make any sense. But we'll talk about that later. First, Thomas, why don't you tell me what you're drinking tonight?
Oh, we are drinking today. I'm drinking a hot tea. I'm just trying to keep it chill today, man. You know, I had a long weekend. Go Browns. I don't know why that heat kicked my ass on Sunday. I think what it was is because it was freaking 40 degrees when I started tailgating, and it was 77 degrees halfway through the game. I don't know how that's possible. Gotta love Ohio, but that just wears me the hell out. I think it would be better if it was just 70 all day.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm drinking a Sam Adams because honestly, after after how wild that game was, I just want something. I just want something easy. Sam Adams. That's my personal favorite beer, go-to beer. So that's I'm not doing anything complicated today. Just Sam Adams.
Just not honest, guys.
All right. Boston Lager. I don't even think we play the Patriots this year, so it's not even relevant. But if we ever do play the Patriots, I'll probably have a Boston Lager on for that.
You're not playing the Patriots this year? I know we do.
Do you play the Patriots?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
It must be one of those extra games where you play the team that finished in the same position as of a certain division as you finished, but it's not. I don't know, the games 14th. Where I don't even know how they schedule the 17 games.
I don't know.
You've got the 6 games against division opponents, and then you get I think 8 games are filled out. I think it's 8 games are filled out, but you get 1 AFC division and 1 NFC division, and then the rest of the games get filled out by some complicated formula. So that must be the way that you guys drew the Patriots this year, because we're not playing the AFC or the AFC East. We're not playing them this year.
I don't know. It's the most random thing at all. I'm looking at the schedule right now. We play the Patriots November 14th.
We play the Jets at some point this year, so that's probably what it is. I think you guys finished in the same position as the Patriots finished in the AFC East last year.
I got you. And you play, yeah.
Which actually that doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't the Dolphins have finished in? Because you guys finished in second place, right?
You finished in third.
Oh, no, that's what it is. That's what it is. Because I think the Patriots finished in third, so you'll play the Patriots. So that means the Ravens are going to play the Dolphins at some point. And the Steelers are going to play the Bills, which they already played
the Bills. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and get into these. Let's get into the recaps of these games. I guess let's start. I think with the Browns, because we have since we're also doing the Bengals preview at the end of all this, I figure it's good to transition into that from the Bengals. So
we're going to go first this week.
Yeah. Let's start with the Browns this week.
All right, cool. All right, thank you. I'm actually really excited about this. Here, let me make sure I get my camera all set, so I'm nice and a good photo, so I can talk about how Myles Garrett whooped Justin Fields' ass. By the way, let me say this: I went to the game with my father for the first time today or yesterday, and I made another Baker Mayfield for MVP sign. Had people sign it. Thank you for everybody who were on my TikTok live. I'm gonna do it again. Don't worry. I with my father. He was watching the game. My father didn't say much the whole game. We had seats in the dog pound. He didn't say anything the whole game. Besides the very end of the game, it was like halfway through the third quarter. He was like, "Damn, you suck, Justin Fields. Take your ass back to Ohio State." And I couldn't help but think to myself, that sounds like something I would say. You suck, Justin Fields. I'm not gonna say Justin Fields suck. I don't want to say just Fields suck, but I just think that it's just very interesting that it just felt like he had no protection. He had no protection. As Kyle works with the camera angles.
Sorry, guys. This is our first time on. We've been using Zoom for the podcast for a while. This is our first time on StreamYard, which we got. Shout out to Around the Block, which has, I guess. I think we're on their podcast network now, so I think that's how that works. And they gave us access to all these free tools and everything. So I'm trying to what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to minimize my thing and maximize Thomas, because he's the one talking right now, and it's not working. So, but anyway, you can continue, Thomas. I'll stop messing with the thing.
The Browns defense looked really good. That's the first thing I talk about is the Browns defense. I fully attended and talked about Kareem Hunt. I fully want to talk about the kicker, but I think the thing that you got to really talk about today is the Browns defense. The Browns offense is always going to be there. The Browns offense, they have so many ways to beat you on offense. We'll get to that, but the Browns defense yesterday looked good on all cylinders. Now, granted, they did play against a compromised defensive line. And they did play against a compromised offensive line. They did play against a compromised quarterback or rookie quarterback who was playing his first game. You also played against a a team that doesn't really have that many weapons. So the Bears not really known for their offense, but even still, like the Browns just made a bad offense look even worse. And so many times the Browns defense made a bad offense look good. So, stepping stones. But Myles Garrett, man, 4.5 sacks. Oh my God. There was a point where the crowd was chanting Myles Garrett. I thought they was chanting overrated. Oh, overrated. They were chanting Myles Garrett. I thought they was chanting that freaking. Anyway, they were chanting Myles Garrett. And he did the cabbage patch dance. He did his thing. He freaking just went insane. So shout out to him. Shout out to JLK. JLK looked good. Greg Newsome had a broken up pass. He looked good. Denzel Ward doing Denzel Ward things. He looked good. The Browns defense just looked dominant that game. And the Browns defense could just play at that level against other teams. They're gonna be a really hard team to beat. They're gonna be a really hard team to beat. How do you feel? What was your reaction to Myles Garrett's performance, Kyle?
Well, look, my reaction to Myles Garrett in specific. I mean, he obviously had an amazing game. The thing that blew my mind about this game was the fact that the Browns got to Justin Fields 9 times.
Oh yeah, 9 times. Yeah,
shit, man. Like
because
everybody said so much shit. Like you remember this offseason, everybody talks so much shit about how the Bengals aren't protecting Joe Burrow. But I mean, you got teams out here like the Bears and the Dolphins who are just like murdering their quarterbacks. Jesus.
Yeah, it felt like that the Bears wouldn't do anything at all to help Justin Fields out. It was like they was just letting anything possible just come through and just attack him, and that's pretty much what happened. Man, because Jadameon Clowney got his too. But I think for me though, the biggest surprise for me in the game though is actually Kareem Hunt, because it's not that I didn't think that Kareem Hunt was ever good. It's just the fact that you just forget how good Kareem Hunt is, because you got so many weapons on this team. So you got this you have this guy named Nick Chubb who comes in and tear it up all the time. And then you got Kareem Hunt who comes in. He has 150 yards total, 70 on the ground, 80 in the pass. Like this kid is a bone on 5, he's baller. Like
Kareem Hunt was insane. I almost made him my underrated player of the week
But how do you call Kareem Hunt the guy who won? That's the whole thing about the Browns though, is how you call Kareem Hunt underrated player because
he's sitting behind Nick Chubb.
Exactly. But on 90% of the teams in the NFL, he will be the number one, and he'll be the number one running back.
That's
and you
exactly
forget
what
about
I had written up for it. Actually, I was like, he's only really underrated because he's on the Browns. But he would be starting for most other teams in the NFL. He just happens to be the second guy on the Browns, and that it was because I did find somebody else, but it was because at that point I didn't have anybody else who quite looked like a truly standout underrated player. So I was just going to kind of cheat a little bit and say Kareem Hunt because he did so well, and he had a phenomenal Pro Football Focus grade, by the way.
Dude, he was just. Dude was balling, man. And all right, so his touchdown was really good, but he had this first down run where he had it was first. And he had it was first down. He had a 15-yard run, a 14-yard run, and that it was at that moment I realized he was gonna go off. He's about to go off this game, and he was just phenomenal. Catching the ball, he was catching the ball at the bounce backfield. And that's the thing about this team, they got so many weapons on this team that they can find different ways. They just find different ways to beat you. They can find this game could be a Kareem Hunt game, next game could be a Nick Chubb game, and they don't got to. These players don't have to have. You could rest your players that way because you don't have to worry about making Kareem Hunt touch the ball. That's a hell of a catch that was out of bounds, by the way. Sorry, no, he was in bounds when he caught it. That was a hell of a catch. But you don't have to worry about overworking your running back going to the playoffs, especially considering the fact that it's a 17-game season, and that's big. So I love what Kevin Stefanski's doing with the whole running back rotation, go with the hot hand thing. That's big, man. That's big. And what the Browns are doing, man, that run by Kareem Hunt for a touchdown, Kareem Hunt is special, man. That kid is special. And he's only our second best running back. Also, shout outs to Odell Beckham.
For making it back.
Well, no, I mean, he played a good game.
Well, he did. He was the Browns' leading receiver.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the whole thing. Like, you know,
Baker
so like
didn't throw an interception in his direction. So there you go.
See, you gotta like I kind of realized that like you know, you kind of watch the Browns and then you watch the stats and you're like, oh, the stats aren't that impressive. But if you watch the game itself, you realize why the stats aren't that impressive because there's only 60 minutes in the game and there's only one ball and there's so many freaking weapons. How do you make sure everybody touch the ball, but also execute your game plan? You gotta really check if you're a player for the Browns. You gotta really check your ego at the door because, like, all right, so Austin Hooper had a touchdown, but if Austin Hooper's plays, Austin Cooper catching the ball, that means David Njoku and Harrison Bryant's not getting the ball, and the tight ends are getting the ball. That means the receivers aren't getting the ball. Well, if the receivers aren't getting, but if the receivers are getting the ball, that means the running backs aren't getting the ball. So, like, there's so many freaking ways this team could freaking beat you. Awesome. I like it's just insane. So you don't have to worry about leaning on Odell Beckham when he comes back. You can have Odell Beckham have a light load, but have him be on the field the whole time. And the whole time Odell Beckham was on the field, he did everything he needed to do. He got open. He blocked well. That was very big. He looked fast. He didn't look slower. He looked good. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything stupid on the field. You know, he was smart.
Don't forget about that Browns defense, particularly the guy that we've talked about a lot on this podcast before, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
He looked great.
Oh my God, this dude was everywhere, man. He had 4 tackles. He contributed to a sack, so he got credited for 0.5 sacks, which is I've always found a really weird stat. But he got a guy in the backfield. He deflected 2 passes. He got a quarterback hit. I mean, this guy was all over the place, and that's why you go get one of those hybrid linebackers who can basically play everywhere.
Yeah. No. JOK was phenomenal this game. And, you know, it's just one of them games. It's one of the games where the Browns. This game reminded me a lot of that Browns versus Giants game, where it kind of was boring to watch. But it was just because the Browns just manipulated the game. The Browns it's a Kevin Stefanski game. Like I understand what Kevin Stefanski game looks like now. It's when he's just dominating the team to the point where he has the offense clicking and they're just controlling the clock, doing what the hell they want, and then getting the defense enough rest. And like it's just like the last time they looked like this when they played against the Giants. They literally did everything they planned to do. They had a plan and they just executed it so perfectly. And it's boring, yeah, but they get the job done and they win.
Not if you're a Browns fan. I mean, personally, whenever I see the Bengals dominate like that, I love it. Like, I mean, it's like you know, domination games are not always great to watch, like great TV for like a casual fan, but for like a diehard Browns fan, that game has had to be like fun.
A lot of fun, yes. Seeing freaking Myles Garrett do the cabbage back. By the way, I got some inside information on why he did that. By the way, so we had a Browns, a Cleveland Browns player got inducted to the Ring of Honor, I think it was, and he was trying to get the entire crowd to do cabbage patch. He's like, "All right, everybody, do the cabbage patch with me." Now you don't know what that is. All you do is just take your arm and just go like this. Y'all ready, crowd? Let's do it. And then he was the only one on the field doing it. Everybody looking at this dude like he's like. And then everybody in the crowd is just like, okay. And then Myles Garrett comes and sack Justin Fields and he started doing it.
It's like all these Bengals players doing the gritty, all the Browns players are doing the cabbage patch.
Do you remember?
Hey, one more guy I want to shout out for the Browns is Chase McLaughlin.
I just gotta say, you gotta give that to the kicker, man.
There you go. That was a guy who on this podcast we constantly trashed going into the season. Like we were like, we're like, you know, like we were talking about how great the Bengals kicker situation looks with Evan McPherson, and you know Thomas was like, I wish we had a good kicker, and it was like there was Cody Parkey, and then Cody Parkey got hurt, and then it was Chase McLaughlin. It's like, do you really trust Chase McLaughlin? But
I trust him more than freaking Cody Parkey.
Our field goal.
It was
If
a nice.
if he did that in
Dude.
Cincinnati, that would tie the all-time record. Now the Browns' all-time record is longer. They had a 60-yard field goal back in like the 50s or something, like the 60s maybe.
See, I didn't think he would make it, man. I was saying, like, man, he ain't making this. He ain't
I
making
didn't think
this.
Justin Tucker was going to make a 66-yard field goal, but you know what? This just
I don't
happened.
think anybody expected Justin Tucker to make a freaking 66-yard field goal. Who in here? They wasn't even past the 50, were they? Well, he kicked that.
No,
were
they were
the
on the 48. They were on the 48-yard line.
Yeah, that is just freaking insane.
That's why you draft a kicker.
That is just freaking insane. Were they on the Ravens 48?
No, they were on the
Lions?
Lions 48. No. Sorry, they were on the Ravens 48. They hadn't even crossed.
That's insane. That's insane. Right? That's insane. That is just. It's just going. People are getting stronger. That is just insane. All right, I got nothing else to say about the Browns. We talk about defense. We talk about the offense. I mean, dude, that's the whole thing. Like, you got so many weapons on this team, and then I called in to Bull and Fox. Shout out to them. And I asked Bull, I was like, "Hey, do you think the Browns could win a Super Bowl?" Very easy answer. Just a very easy question. Could the Browns win a Super Bowl? Like, just like an honest question. And he's like, "Yeah, they could." It's like, I believe they could. Like, this team really could win a Super Bowl. Like, you don't need Baker Mayfield. I know I won't go out there with Baker Mayfield for MVP sign, but Baker Mayfield don't need to play on an MVP level. Baker Mayfield just got to play decent. Just man the army. Baker Mayfield's job is to just lead the people. If Baker Mayfield does that, then everybody else will keep their egos at the door. Everybody else will keep their egos in check. Everybody else will stay humble. If Baker Mayfield stays humble, then the rest of his team stays humble, because there's a lot of stars on this team, like we said, and nobody, like a lot of players, their numbers will be inflated on other teams. So this is a golden opportunity for this team, because this is really a super team. The amount of freaking talent that is freaking on this team. And if everybody just play their part, this team could be good. This team could be really freaking good. And I don't think they reached their potential yet. I don't think they came close to reaching their potential, but they're on the right track. That's all that matters. That's all I got for the Browns.
I don't know. That was a pretty good game. I mean, like, I'm sure offensively they have more potential than what you saw, but
defensively,
I mean, that was a great performance, man. Like 9 sacks, you got to do better. Like the all-time NFL record's 12. Like how much better?
No. Defensively is 12 apparently, but no, I mean, but like I'm with you though. Defensively though, my God, like I the Browns just. The way the Browns just destroyed and just dominated. I really want to hear what our guest from last week had to say about it. But I mean, man,
Justin Fields. Unfortunately, he's not going to be coming on the podcast again, at least for another 4 years, probably. It sucks. It would have been so much better, because we got his reaction for the Bengals game. It would have been so much better if we could have gotten his reaction for the Bears game. If only the Browns had played the Bears first. But oh well. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the Bengals. I would like to officially state for the record that I am fully back on the Zach Taylor train. I never really left, but I was like, I was getting, like when you're on a subway and you're getting ready, like your stop's next, so you like start moving toward the door. Well, I was starting to move toward the door on the Zach Taylor train, because I was like, I'm not there yet where I'm out on him. But at the same time, it's like what we saw against Chicago just felt like more of the same of these games that we just constantly drop, and we can't get them done because Zach Taylor does not have his players prepared for these situations. And we almost saw that happen again against the Vikings. But boy, I'll tell you what, they made it work against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Zach Taylor put together a fantastic game plan and generally excellent play calling throughout the day. I mean, there were a couple of questionable things here and there, but this was a huge game. And I said it before the game that, if he loses, I'm out. It doesn't mean I necessarily think he should be fired like after week 3, but it does mean that I'm pretty much out. I don't really see him getting things together, and I no longer believe in this iteration of the Bengals with Zach Taylor as the head coach. If they lose, if they win, then it shows all that progress that you think that you've seen throughout the first 2 weeks, and it shows you that they can get ready and be the bullies for once, be the team that gets right against an inferior opponent, and instead of letting the Pittsburgh Steelers do it. I got a little nervous at the end because the offense was sputtering and the defense allowed the Steelers to start going on these long extended drives. But at the same time, I think that might have been part of the strategy, because it was like we were up 14 points, and it's like, if you make the Steelers go on long drives, that drains the clock, and you have a much better chance. Like, as long as you don't let the long 40-yard bomb get you and quick scores, that's how you lose those games. But if you make them go on long extended drives, then it does wear down the defense. So there's that side of it. But at the very least, you're making them drain the clock and you're making them run out of precious opportunities to get things done. But they stopped the Steelers when it mattered on a key 4th down with 3 minutes left. And they maintained that 2-touchdown lead. And that's just something that the Bengals of 2020 and 2019 just didn't do. And to be fair, the Bengals of 2017 and 2018 too. This has been a problem for a while, and that's part of the reason Marvin Lewis got let go, is because we were starting to see these patterns with the Bengals that were unsustainable for putting together a product that anybody wanted to see on the field. And Zach Taylor, Lou Anarumo, Brian Callahan, to their credit, it seems like they had a vision to completely rebuild the entire team. And now that the new team is put in place, it seems like the vision is working. These aren't world beaters, but this is a team that could make the playoffs. Are they going to make the playoffs? I'm not quite ready to say that's going to. Well, I know you've been saying that all year. I'm not quite ready to say that they're going to make the playoffs just yet, but I am saying that I believe that this team could make the playoffs. I do think that is. I think this team is ready to make the playoffs, and I would love to see them do it. But even if they don't, as long as they like I've said before, as long as they go 9-8, I say give Zach another season, because they are showing the progress that they need to.
Am I reading this right? Did the Steelers not have a single sack against the Bengals?
Not one, not a single one. Now, in fairness, in their defense, they had 2 defensive linemen on IR, which was Stephon Tuitt and Tyson Alualu. TJ Watt didn't play in the game. Alex Highsmith didn't play in the game. So all of their good, all of their starting caliber defensive linemen were not in. But they didn't even get any pressure. There's a difference.
I was about to say, I'm hearing all this stuff, but look, man, here's the thing, and go ahead.
I was just going to say on that note, I'll let you finish, but on that note, we were missing our starting right guard, and we had this guy going in who came into camp out of shape, and a lot of people were already calling a bust before he ever took a regular season snap in the NFL. So, the way I see it, and everybody's like, the Bengals offensive line is so awful and blah, 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 blah. And we got injuries and stuff like that. It's like, if there was ever a team that, in theory, the Steelers could have made it work against, it was the Bengals, and it just didn't happen. And I credit that to the offensive line, which has generally, the offensive line itself has been keeping Burrow mostly clean. It's been some other protection issues that's been the reason why Burrow's been taking so many sacks this year. But the offensive line itself has been mostly fine.
That Bengals defense looking good. How many sacks y'all had on Ben Roethlisberger yesterday?
Was it 3?
It seemed like a lot, but Ben Roethlisberger looked horrible. Ben Roethlisberger looked horrible yesterday. I'll tell you who looked good though.
4, sorry.
Yeah, y'all got in his face. It's not like 9 the Browns did, but y'all got in his face. Y'all roughed him up. Joe Burrow, man, I love that kid because he had that pick early in the game that didn't discourage him. He kept on going. Jamar Chase, man, up here proving all the haters wrong, making me look like a genius right now. Making me look like a genius right now. It was just a good game played by the Bengals, man. It just further goes along with these. What's funny? What's funny though is that a lot of NFL players, a lot of NFL fans, they like to just think about They like to predict games. They like to go in games by reputation. So, the Bengals can't do this because they're the Bengals. Browns can't do this because they're the Browns. But the Steelers, they're gonna look good. Well, so the Steelers are the idiots who follow the NFL stereotypes to a T instead of looking what's right in front of them. So instead of them saying, hey, we have all these problems with our team, we should probably do something to fix them. Like, no, we're the Steelers. We have a great culture, and our culture is going to carry us to the Super Bowl. Well, how the hell is culture going to fix your talent problem? Can somebody tell me that? Can somebody tell me how the history of the Steelers, how the Steelers being good in the 70s and the 80s is going to make them good in 2021? How is that going to fix the offensive line?
That Ben Roethlisberger talked about that in his post-game press conference. He mentioned that, he was talking about, the culture of Pittsburgh and what it means to put on the Steelers uniform. And I'm like, what the fuck has it meant since at least 2018, dude? This Steelers team has been a joke. Like, I mean, literally more memes have been made about this team than people actually being excited about this team.
What's funny is see how miserable Ben Roethlisberger is and how miserable he's gonna be all season because they're gonna get worse. It's not like this guy gets better over the season.
After this year, he's an idiot.
I hope he's not done after this year because this is hilarious.
No, that'd be great. That's why I was so excited when I found out he was coming back for another year. I'm like, yes, Ben Roethlisberger, we finally get to bully you.
It's just like
I knew that was going to happen.
You know damn well the Ravens and the Browns right now are licking their chops at this weak offensive line the Steelers are putting it out there right now. You know they are.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, what do the Steelers really have to offer? They drafted a running back in the first round. He's not doing bad, but let's be real. They could have found better production out of the running back that not drafted in the first round. There are plenty of ways to get a running back. You could have traded a third-round pick and got a better running back.
Look, Najee Harris is not doing badly considering the circumstances, but
he's not doing bad, but it's not worth a first-round pick.
Well, and it's
running back is not worth a first. Literally, Pittsburgh could have traded. Like honestly, do you think if you trade a third or a second round pick, do you think you could trade a third or second round pick and get a very solid running back?
You totally could. You could also get a very solid running back in the second or third round. You don't have to
Exactly. Who's the running back for? The running back for freaking Jacksonville wasn't even drafted last year. Wasn't James Robinson?
James Robinson. Yeah. And the guy they did draft in the first round ended up being kind of more or less a bust for them. Who's playing for Tampa Bay now?
Nick Chubb second round, Kareem Hunt third round,
Joe Mixon second round.
With Devin Cook.
Delvin Cook, I think, was the first round.
Third round. I mean, like, come on, man. Come on, Pittsburgh. I thought y'all were freaking a world-class organization. Taking a running back in the first round.
There are a few
offensive problems.
Situations where taking a running back in the first round makes sense. It doesn't happen often, but like the Vikings taking Dalvin Cook in the first round, that made sense. But I mean, yeah, for the most part, running backs in the first round, it's kind of dumb, guys.
Yeah, 40 yards on 14 attempts.
Especially a team like the Steelers that has no offensive line, has absolutely nothing going on to like make a talented running back have any semblance of a chance. Like, you're right, Najee Harris looks like he's fairly talented, but the problem is he doesn't have a chance. Like, all that talent's going to waste right now.
40 yards, 14 attempts.
So,
for your first round pick, ladies and gentlemen.
Real quick, I wanted to talk about my biggest takeaway from this game, which you alluded to it earlier, talking about Jamar Chase making you look like a genius. I also agreed that the Bengals should take Jamar Chase at number 5 overall. Now, I was mostly saying, Kyle Pitts all offseason, but by the time the pick came, Kyle Pitts was already off the board. So I was like, okay, if not Kyle Pitts, then Jamar Chase. And so Jamar Chase would have been the guy I would have gone with too. But a lot of people have been saying, oh, Penei Sewell would have been the better pick, blah, 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 blah. And Penei Sewell, to his credit, despite looking awful at right tackle in the preseason, has looked much better at left tackle. Now, he also hasn't really looked very good as a run blocker, in fairness. He's mostly looked good as a pass blocker. But Jackson Carman, didn't start the first 2 weeks. It looks like he's definitely gonna be the starter against Jacksonville. He got the start against Pittsburgh due to injury. And maybe if he continues to do well, maybe he'll keep that starting spot. But man, Jackson Carman looked good. He especially as a pass protector, he allowed 0 sacks and 0 pressures. Joe Burrow he said in his press conference, I didn't feel anything on the right side of me. Like Jackson Carman was absolutely just tearing up as a pass blocker. Now he got put on his ass a couple times. He passed a few blocking assignments off to teammates as a run blocker. And so if you go look at his Pro Football Focus grade, they graded him like super poorly because he had some issues as a run blocker. But those issues didn't really matter much to a hill of beans because Joe Mixon still ran for 5 yards per carry. And Jackson Carman's teammates made up for it in the running game. So it's still stuff he's got to work on. But for them to give him like a 30-something grade overall, despite the fact he had a great day blocking for the pass, I thought that was kind of stupid. It's the one time I've really looked at the Pro Football Focus grade and I've been like, are you sure? Are you sure about that?
Man, the Bengals, man, I gotta tell you though, man, that Bengals offense look a lot of fun, man. This team's gonna be a lot of fun all year. They're not gonna lose for a minute either. I'm looking at your schedule right now. Y'all got fun. Y'all got a couple more W's coming your way. I might have a nice little winning streak going on in a second.
Well, we got Jacksonville coming up. That's a big
that Brown versus Bengals game is gonna be a lot of fun. That's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna do November 7th, y'all. We're gonna do I'm gonna get everything ready. We're gonna do a live stream before the game. We're gonna have a nice little booth setup and everything. We're gonna do some fun stuff for that. We're gonna do some fun stuff for that.
Is that in Cleveland?
No, November 7th. The first one's in Cincinnati. I'm coming out to Cincinnati for you.
You're coming out. Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'm coming down to Cincinnati. We're going to get there. We're going to tailgate. We're going to get there. We're going to live stream. If it's all cool with you, I'm down to start live streaming at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. I'm down to get down there early, set everything up. We can live stream in the morning, whatever time you want to get down.
Yeah. Well, it's on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure, we could totally do that. My dad's the one who has the tickets. So like once the game starts, we'll have to separate. But I'm totally down to live stream before the game.
All right, awesome. We'll definitely do that. We're gonna have a big live stream going on.
Hell yeah.
We'll probably put it on YouTube and TikTok. Have it going on cross platforms. We're gonna have fun. November 7th, man. Check us out. But man, like the Bengals, man, they're probably gonna beat the Jaguars. We're gonna talk about that later. They got the Packers. That's going to be a real litmus test. But after that, the schedule lightens up for the Bengals. Like the Bengals, you could look at the Bengals only having 2 losses going to November.
Well, they play the Packers after the Jaguars, right?
Yeah. I honestly think y'all got the Jaguars. Your next 4 games are the Packers, the Jaguars, the Lions, and the Ravens and the Jets.
The Lions.
The Lions, the Ravens, and the Jets.
Oh my god! That's at the very least it's 3-2. And if we pull out, I think I got 4 games. Bay or Baltimore.
Yeah, just beat Green Bay, Baltimore. I think y'all beat one of those teams.
Yeah,
I think y'all beat one of those teams.
I think
if not both
of those teams. But I think we should at
watch out. It's gonna be the Browns versus the Bengals this year, man. It's gonna be the Browns versus the Bengals for the division.
Oh my god, it's gonna.
You know that, right? You know it's gonna be that, right? It's gonna be like that. That Bengals defense is looking really good. That Bengals defense is not a mirage. That is not a mirage we've seen on defense over the Bengals. It'll be a mirage.
I wanted to talk about the Bengals fucking defense, by the way, because that was what I was alluding to earlier. There's this national narrative out there, and I'm not just talking about the national TV shows. I'm talking about every fan that's not like paying attention to the Bengals seems to have this idea that the Bengals defense is trash. I don't know where the fuck this is coming from, other than the fact that they had a trash defense the last few years. Fair enough. But I don't know where this narrative is coming from that they're currently trash. They're currently number 9 in the entire NFL. This is a top 10 defense, which I said they could be, by the way, during the offseason. I said this could be a top 10 defense if things work out. They're currently number 9 in the NFL in DVOA, with defensive value over average. They're tied for number 4 in sacks with 10. They're tied for number 7 in interceptions with 3. They're tied for number 6 in quarterback rating allowed, 84.7. They're number 5 in first down percentage allowed, 29.5. 29.5% of the time they're allowing teams to get a first down. That's insane. They're number 8 in rushing yards allowed, 235. They're number 3 in rushing touchdowns allowed. They've only allowed 1. They're tied for number 10 in passing touchdowns allowed, number 4. So in both rushing and passing touchdowns, they're a top 10 defense. They haven't allowed a single play, one play all year of over 40 yards. It hasn't happened yet. I think the longest one was 34.
They're allowing 18 points a game.
They're allowing 18 points a game. They're number 4 in air yards per attempt with 6. They're number 5 in ground yards per carry, 3.3. This is a great defense, guys. It's not just a good defense. It's currently a great defense. So these people out here I've seen people out here saying like the offense is great, the defense sucks. And I'm like, are you talking about the 2020 Bengals? Because the 2021 Bengals, like the offense is getting better, but the defense is really carrying them through these games. The defense is making it work, guys.
I don't defense know better than offense.
What?
The defense look more cohesive than the offense does because the offense is what lost out the game against the Bears.
Yeah, a big part of that is, and I actually kind of want to address this is another thing I wanted to address about Joe Burrow. But a big reason why the offense hasn't looked quite so cohesive is mostly because Joe Burrow has not quite looked like himself this year. Every week, he seems like he's getting a little bit better, a little bit closer to being back to normal. Week 1, we saw some concerning things, like he wasn't willing to scramble in the pocket. He, had poor pocket presence when he was back there. It seemed like he wore down in the second half after, a long opening touchdown drive in week 1. Week 2, he improved on some of those issues, but he also melted down in the second half. And he did manage to turn things back around to, almost come back and win. But, there were still some things you were kind of like, But week 3, he displayed excellent pocket presence. He scrambled like 2 or 3 times. And at one point, he looked like Lamar Jackson breaking tackles and everything. It was great. He made a really dumb decision at one point to throw into triple coverage with a poaching safety, which was Terrell Edmonds at one point, and it was an easy interception. But that was early in the game, and he rebounded to throw after that interception that he threw more touchdowns the entire rest of the game than he threw incompletions.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. This is why I wasn't in such a big rush to rush back Odell Beckham. Because I'm looking at a lot of these players that come back from these ACL injuries, and a lot of them aren't coming back well. So Odell Beckham, he came back from an injury. He took us to like Odell Beckham. You go ahead and take your time with your injury, and it's hard to come back. It's hard to come back from a major injury like that because, like you said, it's a mental thing. You gotta instill confidence in yourself. You also gotta try and get back to your physical peak because you have a new physical peak because you're trying to find a new physical peak. You're trying to find your new limits in your body.
Well, I think Joe Burrow was this whole time. I think Joe Burrow has been back almost 100% physically. His issue has been kind of like the mental side of things. He was, I think, nervous. Part of his pocket presence problems, I think, was being nervous with people around his knee. And I was confirmed by the fact that he wasn't willing to scramble until this week. But you talked about it. The Bengals, the Bengals' early schedule this year, so far has been 2-1. Could have been 3-0 if we had actually closed things out against Chicago, but we didn't.
Young team still learning.
And then we talked about it. We get the next 5 games. There's 3 very winnable games, which the Bengals seem at the point where they're ready to win these winnable games. And then you got Green Bay and Baltimore, which Green Bay could be pretty tough. Baltimore, I think, we'll talk about this later, but I think Baltimore looks extremely beatable right now. So, if you go through a really good stretch of these next 5 games, And I think probably by the bye week, if not by week 9 when we play the Browns for the first time, I think Joe Burrow could be fully back to being 100% of the player he was before the injury by then. And that's a scary thought with this defense playing as well as it is. And if Joe Burrow can, if the Bengals can find a way to win a decent amount of these games early on, and then Joe Burrow is back and ready to tear the NFL a new asshole in the second half of the season, like this is going to be an interesting team to watch, guys. I'm telling you right now.
Tear the NFL a new asshole.
Yep, you heard me. That's what I said.
Can I just say this one more time? Pittsburgh Steelers are in for a very long season.
I've said it before.
Y'all should just start Mason Rudolph already. You suck, Pittsburgh.
Awful. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more later, but there's so much more I want to say about this game, but we also have to talk about previewing the Bengals' next game because, like I said, we're not going to come out with another episode before the Thursday night football game. Let's go ahead and preview this Bengals Jaguars game a little bit. Like I said, first of all, Jackson Carman. Zach Taylor said in his press conference that Jackson Carman is going to be starting again. So right now you're going up against a Jacksonville Jaguars team, which just has looked awful in all phases. And by the way, like hours before we recorded this, they announced that they were trading C.J. Henderson, their first round, their top 10 pick at cornerback. They're trading him for Dan Arnold, the tight end from Carolina Panthers. And I actually think Dan Arnold is a good pickup for Trevor Lawrence, might give him a decent safety blanket. But, man, that secondary, especially going up against like a confident Joe Burrow, is going to be – and we might have T. Higgins back too. And Jamar Chase is playing the way he's playing. And, also we got Tyler Boyd, who's the best slot receiver in the NFL. Bro –
keep on saying that like Jarvis Landry don't exist.
This Bengals team right now is confirmed all of the problems. I've said it. I've talked about the 4 main problems the Bengals have had on this podcast for the last 12 weeks or whatever. You got like kickers fixed, defensive line pass rush is fixed, defensive line run defense is also fixed. So there's that. I forget the third one, but the fourth one was offensive line. And Jackson Carman appears to be holding his own. And if Jackson Carman's holding his own, there's not really a huge weak spot on this offensive line. Quentin Spain and Trey Hopkins are kind of up and down. And, Jackson Carman's probably going to be up and down too because he's a rookie. But, point being that the offensive line can definitely be good enough to give Joe Burrow a chance to shred you. And like I said, with the deep passing game fixed, I think Jamar Chase up against these nobodies in the Jaguars secondary. That's going to be fun.
I think this game is going to be. I think this game is going to be. I think this game is going to be the moment the Bengals expose themselves to the rest of the NFL.
Well, it's kind of more or less national television, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, what's going to happen is, first of all, the Jaguars are going to be on the storyline. The storyline Friday morning is going to be the Jaguars looks horrible. What's wrong with Urban Meyer and Jacksonville? Like nobody's seen that one coming. And then it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Can they be the next big thing? The Cincinnati Bengals, they're this new big team. It's going to happen. They're going to blow out.
People are already starting to ask, are the Bengals legit?
Because here's the thing though. Here's the thing. How are you gonna I'm sorry. I'm looking at Bengals stats. I'm trying to figure out who I want to go for my underrated player of the week. But how are you how are the Jacksonville Jaguars going to beat the Bengals on short rest? A rookie quarterback, a rookie coach with half a foot out the door.
In Cincinnati.
In Cincinnati, and it's on the road. It's the NFL, anything can happen, but let's be realistic here. Joe Burrow's in rhythm. Jamar Chase is in rhythm with Joe Burrow. Tyler Boyd, like you said, is looking really freaking good out there. Tyler Boyd's looking really freaking good. T. Higgins looking good, and then you got by the way, you got Joe Mixon. Like this offense of the Bengals. The Bengals have probably one of the most explosive offenses, if not the most explosive offense in the NFL. May I say
potentially, but definitely the way we saw it against the Steelers.
Like the Browns offense is different. The Browns offense have a lot of depth, so they could beat you. They can play the game in a lot of ways. So the Browns offense is the type of offense where they will get you the 6-7 yard gains, and they'll just drive it down your throat to the point where they just beat you down. Joe Burrow can do that.
Superpower.
Oh yeah, he can. But he got these explosive ass players,
right?
Because he's getting these big chunks from these players, and I don't know, like this team is just it's a different kind of style. It's a different kind of style of offense, but it's fun. It's quick. It's nice. It's fun to watch. This is a fun team to watch, man. This Bengals team is good. Yeah. This Bengals team is good. They're still young. There's still a lot of kinks to work out, obviously, but this Bengals team could win the division.
I think I can't remember, but I think on the last episode of the podcast, I mentioned that the Bengals defense, I think, only has one single hole right now. Only one single position that is not currently playing at an elite level. Okay, maybe there's a couple linebackers who aren't playing elite, but they're still playing very well. The only major hole on the Bengals defense right now is their second starting cornerback position. Chidobe Awuzie been doing great. Now, hopefully he's not hurt too bad, and he does play against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the biggest problem with our defense right now is Eli Apple is a liability. Eli Apple sucks. And I've been having a few arguments lately with some guys on Facebook who, for whatever reason, think that Eli Apple is, get like better than people think, and I'm like, have you guys been watching? He can't tackle, he can't cover. Like whenever opposing quarterbacks want to get into a rhythm, they just throw to his side of the field. That's pretty much just how that works. Allegedly, sounds like Trey Waynes, our like $54 million cornerback who we signed last year, might finally make his debut in stripes against the Jaguars. That would be huge, because now this is also assuming Chidobe Awuzie plays, because if he's out, then we still got to deal with Eli Apple. But I don't mind Eli Apple so much as a backup, but as a starter, he's a problem. Trey Waynes looked great in the preseason, in training camp, and still has yet to play a game for the Bengals, but allegedly he's really good. I've heard a lot of people talk about him as the best run-defending cornerback in the NFL. So, we'll really have to see what happens there. But if you can get him on the field with the rest of this defense playing the way they're playing, I don't see how you're going to fucking score any points on this team. The only reason anybody's been able to score any points on us is because they've been bullying Eli Apple. That's literally it.
You know what's interesting about the game that Joe Burrow played, by the way? He only had 172 yards. 174 yards, sorry. It doesn't seem like he had more than that.
Because that's all he needed.
That's what I'm saying, though. I don't know. He had 170 yards, passed the ball 18 times. Like, when your quarterback's doing that, man, because you got Joe Mixon doing his thing, you got the defense doing their thing, and you got the Steelers sucking up a storm.
Well, you got to remember, Joe Burrow only threw 18 passes, and
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like I said, he only missed 4 of them, and I think 2 of them came after the interception. Like, he got off to a little bit of a rocky start, and then he was just like, he wasn't throwing a lot after that, but he was efficient throwing. They used Joe Mixon to win that game. They dictated the tempo of that game. And also, the Steelers were on offense way more than the Bengals, because like I said, the Bengals were efficient with, when they got the ball, they figured out a way to score quickly. Whereas the Steelers ran something like, what was it, like 73 plays or something like that? Only got 10 points out of it. It was insane. Ben Roethlisberger threw the ball 58 times. 58. Those are numbers that like Joe Burrow was first to do last year because the Bengals like had nothing but Joe. Like Joe Burrow was the only thing that was any good with the Bengals, and Ben Roethlisberger isn't even good. So I'm not sure what the game plan was there.
So previewing this game with the Jaguars, going back to that, like you said, they'll have a secondary. The Jaguars, the Jaguars did have a spark against the Cardinals. Am I not mistaken? Were the Jaguars ahead at one point against the Cardinals? Or I know they scored points against the Cardinals. They didn't look bad against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals came back and just started whooping them. It's from what I understand, because I didn't see bits and pieces of it because I was at the stadium. So I didn't see the whole game against the Cardinals, but I don't really follow Jaguars that much because I freaking hate but anyway, going back to it, Jaguars don't look like a very good team.
No,
Jaguars look like a team that the Bengals could really just take advantage of. They're not well coached. There's not a lot going for them at all in this game, so I don't really understand. I really can't see any ways of them beating y'all. I'm with you, man. I just think this is going to be a game. This is going to be a party downtown Cincinnati Thursday night.
And you know what part of it is?
I think Joe Burrow will have a big game.
You mentioned reasons why the Jaguars are going to have a tough time in this game. This game is about as much of a homecoming as you could ever possibly have for the Cincinnati Bengals. Because not only did they just go beat up on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, but you've also got like this. The Bengals finally did a thing that made sense this offseason as far as like fan engagement goes, and they decided to start a Ring of Honor. And the enshrining ceremony is going to be at halftime against the Jacksonville Jaguars on Thursday Night Football. So essentially, this is going to be a game where Bengals fans are going to show up and be excited and get loud. And if the Bengals get off to a good start, rest in peace, Jaguars, because this crowd is going to be absolutely like at your throat. Like, and I'm going to be part of it. The jungle is going to be rocking, and it's going to be great.
Man, I kind of want to come down Thursday and watch the game myself.
It might be worth, even as a fan of not the Bengals. Maybe fans of the Jaguars would enjoy it. But.
I don't know. I might. You never know. I might pop a trip, man. The Jaguars got some players on their team. They got some players that could make some noise. I mean, you always got to worry about DJ Clark. DJ Clark's always good. And then Trevor Lawrence was a really good. Trevor Lawrence was the number one overall pick, so he has some potential or some talent somewhere in there.
Well, he does. He does. I've looked at his film, and from what I'm seeing, he's still flashing the signs of that talent that made people want him to be the number one overall pick. There's still plenty there to work with. And I just think he's got a lot of rookie growing pains right now, and that's the biggest problem. But it's gonna be rough against this Bengals defense because the only comparable unit he's faced so far in 2021 to the Bengals defense is the Broncos defense, and he had a 37.2 quarterback rating against them. That's awful.
Honestly,
so I imagine the Bengals are going to be able to force him to make a lot of errors. This is going to be a good game for turnovers, I think.
Honestly, he looks better. He looks better than most of the quarterbacks who were drafted.
Yep.
To be honest, because the quarterback, like which quarterback is doing better? Zach Wilson ain't doing better. Justin Fields ain't doing better for real.
Well, I think other than the most recent game, Mac Jones.
Oh wait, hold on, I'm sorry, Mac Jones. But Mac Jones looked pretty good. That's how I forget. But Mac Jones played for the Patriots, so of course he's gonna look good. But that's the whole thing, though. Like maybe it's just the fact that we just had a really bad rookie quarterback draft class, and let's Trey Lance come out of nowhere and just mess the game up. I don't know. I think the book is still out on Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields just put in a tough situation. But with that said, I don't really think that I don't really see much of a. I don't have much reason to believe that Trevor Lawrence could turn it around anytime soon. I just think he's going to have a tough rookie season. I think he wants to show flashes here and there, but I think he's going to have a tough rookie season until until they
Well,
figure out a
he
system
has
that
had
works
a
for them.
pretty tough rookie season so far, but
Yeah.
real quick though, to end this last segment, or just not last segment, just to end this segment right here, I want to point out something that I have not been able to say in a while. But the Bengals are currently number 1 in the AFC North, currently in the lead for the division, and most likely, I mean, look. I don't want the Jaguars game. I don't want this Okay, but we beat the Steelers, so we got the tiebreaker. But my point being that if we beat the Jaguars, I don't want to sit here and like curse it and like if the Bengals, this could be a trap game if the Bengals don't take it seriously, because they just came off a hugely important opponent, and then you get a quick turnaround against a team that you feel like you're supposed to beat. It could be a trap game if they're not careful. So I don't want to speak too much. I don't want to curse it too much that way. But if they beat the Jaguars, Bengals are suddenly 3-1, and like you said, they've got a decent amount of winnable games upcoming. So this Bengals team could be for 2 weeks in a row in first place in the AFC North. And that just after some of the shit we've had to deal with for the last 5 years or whatever, just feels so good to say.
So it's gonna be Thursday. Gonna be fun. Thursday gonna be a lot of fun for y'all. That's all I got for y'all.
I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and get on to our underrated players of the week segment. For those who don't, for those who may be joining us for the first time, because obviously we're on this podcast network now, and so we might be getting more listeners in this particular part. The underrated players of the week is a segment that me and Thomas do each week, where we highlight a guy. We give out an award, basically kind of like a game ball, except I don't have a football sitting around here, but we're essentially giving a shout out, like an award, to a player who we think played a lot better, either a lot better than people are giving him credit for, or if you can't find somebody like that, it's at least somebody who just is a really under the radar guy who nobody talks about. So, I guess Thomas, do you want to go first with the Bengals?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sam. I'm gonna go with Sam Hubbard. I always say his name wrong.
Sam Hubbard?
Yeah. Sam Hubbard. All right. So I'm not sure if he's underrated or not.
He's not underrated.
Okay. No. I'm sitting here debating. I'm here debating with him.
I mean, he's not Trey Hendrickson, so I guess you could kind of spin it that way.
He's not underrated, man. Y'all signed him to a big ass deal.
We signed him to a pretty big deal, and not to mention,
look, you know the thing was.
He's a born and raised Cincinnati kid, so he's a hometown hero around here.
So here's the thing. So I've been thinking through 4 people, right? So I'm all right. So my first thought was damn, Tyler Boyd just looked really good, but he only had 4 receptions. But I should make Tyler Boyd my underrated player. But if Tyler Boyd ain't freaking underrated, because
as I said, he's the best slot receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, you keep on saying that. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that. And then I'm gonna go with Chris Evans. I should go with Chris Evans. Well, okay. I went with him. I went with him a couple weeks ago, and they're the Cowboys were "Oh, you just went with Chris Evans because you don't have anybody to go with." But no,
I can't tell you the number of times I've wanted to give this award to BJ Hill. So you know what?
Yeah.
Guy.
Well, no. I'm sticking with my guy. I'm sticking with my gun on this one. I'm sticking with Chris Evans because I really want to talk about him because Chris Evans had 2 receptions for 26 yards. He's averaging 13 yards per catch, and he's a freaking running back. For a 6th-round running back.
He's the 3rd string running back.
He's a 6th-round running back. He's finding his way on the field. And I'm really enjoying just the fact that he's just, I love running backs to do that, who are just willing to do whatever they can to find their way on the field so they can do whatever the coach needs them to do, because those are the players that you want in the locker room. Those are the players that are willing to sacrifice, because if he's able to sacrifice, then everybody's able to sacrifice. A player that sacrifices is a player that builds for other players. It builds commodity. So shout out to Chris Evans.
Chris Evans, once again, right now he's the 3rd string running back behind Samaje Perine, and we picked him up because he's a super talented guy out of Michigan who just he had some issues with I think it was he cheated on a test and he got like his eligibility revoked or something like that. And there was just like this big hullabaloo, but like talent wise, he was much better than a 6th round pick. So I think the Bengals basically took a flyer on this guy, knowing that he's, pretty good as a receiving back. And I think the Bengals were maybe kind of hoping he'd be a little bit better as like a blocking back, but he's definitely making a little bit more of an impact than you're expecting, especially out of a team that has already said that they want to utilize Joe Mixon more than they have in the past.
Yeah. Because apparently she on a test means that you can't play football.
All right, so I'm gonna give, academic requirements when it comes to.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. You should keep your grades up. Keep your grades up.
I'm not
gonna say anything else.
I'm gonna give the for me the underrated player of the week was Isaiah Prince. The backup right tackle, who came in and played 7 snaps in relief of Riley Reif, who briefly exited the game with a left ankle injury. And almost every single time Isaiah Prince was, on the field, they ran the ball. They ran the ball 6 times, passed it 1 time with him on the field. And despite, a fairly large sample size for somebody who we didn't even think was going to make the team at the beginning of the preseason, he graded it exceptionally well as a run blocker. He PFF gave him a 85.6, and he got an overall 91.8 overall grade, which is an elite grade. That means you are playing at an elite level in the NFL. And this guy is this guy is a guy who we thought wasn't even going to make the team this year. I think the main reason he did make the team was because Hakeem Adeniji got hurt and he ended up going to IR. But it's fantastic news for people who are worried about the Bengals offensive line depth, because if something happens to Riley Reif, I believe somebody mentioned him as like a guy who could potentially be limited against the Jaguars or something like that. And if that happens, and Isaiah Prince goes in, you see a performance like this and you think, hey, maybe he could get it done. Maybe we don't have to worry about him too much. Like I said, he had an 85.6 as a run blocker, despite I think he did have previous playing experience with Miami Dolphins and was awful. So he looks like he's starting to get things together. And so shout out to you, Isaiah Prince.
Shout out to you, Isaiah Prince.
Yep. I'm gonna go first with the Browns, just because I have one guy I want to talk about, and I don't know who you're gonna pick, but if you do happen to pick the guy I'm picking, I'm gonna be very sad because I wrote a bunch of notes about this guy.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go with Greedy Williams.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, the what is he? The 4th string cornerback?
Let's see. Greg Newsome, Troy Hill. Yeah, he's 4th string. Yeah, because he's behind Denzel Ward. He'd be behind. He's now behind Greg Newsome now. And he coming back from injury too. So
last year he was the 2nd string cornerback. They went out and got Troy Hill. Yep. Troy Hill. Yeah, they went out and got Trey Hill's our backup center. They went out and got Troy Hill in free agency and took Greg Newsome in the 1st round of the draft because, Greedy Williams, allegedly a weak spot if he's the number 2 cornerback. But he very quietly was one of the Browns' best players in that game against the Bears. In a game where, by the way, the Browns had a lot of high-quality performances from starters. And as we talked about earlier, Kareem Hunt, who, as I said, would be starting on quite a few other teams.
Kareem Hunt on 155 yards.
Right. Yeah. Right. But man, Greedy Williams. You want to know what Greedy Williams did? He allowed a 39.6 passer rating when Justin Fields threw the ball in his direction. 39.6.
That's pretty good. He did look good out there.
Football Focus gave him a 90.7. Again, an elite grade in pass coverage because he locked his man down. He locked his man down all game. He was only targeted twice. But one of those passes was incomplete, and the other he deflected. He broke it up himself. So, I mean, again, as far as the underrated plays, it wasn't the hugest impact because, like I said, he's the 4th string cornerback. and he only got targeted twice. But as far as like an underrated player who I think probably isn't getting enough credit for the way he played, shout out to you, Greedy Williams, which, by the way, Greedy Williams was the guy I was hoping the Bengals would draft the year that he was drafted. And didn't end up happening, but he is a really good player who I think doesn't quite get enough credit.
It sounds like you are an Andrew Berry fan, because Andrew Berry is just he's a really freaking good general manager.
But,
we are very lucky to have that dude.
I'm never going to be a fan of a man who does good things for a rival team, but I gotta say he's done a fantastic job so far. Kevin Stefanski's done a fantastic job so far, and I've said it many times before. I've told this story on the podcast before. I was so pissed when they picked Kevin Stefanski as their next head coach because it felt like they finally went out and got somebody who had their head on straight rather than one of these like Freddie Kitchen types. Who he's got some swagger to him. Oh, that's great. Johnny Manziel had swagger to him too, and look how that worked.
Yeah, and man, let me say, I'm just looking at the defense. By the way, just shout out to the entire defense because like players like Tack McKinley, he got a half a sack, and freaking Janae Clowney and Myles Garrett combined for 6.5 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, that's just nasty. So my underrated player of the week is going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones, the 6th round pick. So I'm going back-to-back Michigan players, I guess. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he had 2 receptions, 39 yards, 19.5. I mean, like they thrown the ball to him twice. He caught the ball twice. And both of them were very important receptions. They were both like early in the game. They weren't. One of them were, I believe, one of them was during the touchdown drive to Alex Hooper. Donovan Peoples-Jones, man. I mean, like I want to see more of him now with Jarvis is out. You have, I mean, he was 3rd receiving yards behind Kareem Hunt and Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham leads the team in receiving yards, but he should. But you're gonna need that second receiver. We're not going. Jarvis Landry ain't gonna be back for a few more games, so you have a big assignment against the Vikings. So I mean, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him, man. I really want to see him step up. Take that next step forward as a number 2 receiver, possibly a long-term receiver for the Browns. I want to see if he can step up in a bigger role. So shout out to you, and good job making those catches. Let's see what you can do next game.
Right on. So what do we got? We got Isaiah Prince, Chris Evans, Greedy Williams, and Donovan Peoples-Jones this week for the underrated players of the week.
Yeah.
Good group of guys. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Real quick, I do kind of want to run through the fantasy league real quick because I don't want to take too much longer before we get to these Ravens and Steelers comments that I want to make.
Yeah, I got that W though.
You did. Me.
You said I want to do it.
I didn't say you weren't going to do it. I just said you need to. I said it wasn't looking good. But me, Debbie Morgan from Debbie's Unmatched team, Nick Bowley from Dog Pound. So both of the Browns fans won this week. Oh, yeah. Go Browns. And Thomas all have officially won their matchups. There's also Michael Dorsey, by the way. I've been calling him Michael Dorkey because that's what he goes by on Facebook. But he actually messaged me and he told me, hey, my last name's actually Dorsey, just so you know. So Michael Dorsey from Hanging with Hernandez. Ian Plank. Fucking shit, man. You know what? He's the one who made his Facebook name Michael Dorkey and then didn't explain it to me until after like we already made a few episodes.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, give me a minute.
All right.
That's genuine. Because I legit thought his name. Like no cap, no, like just all jokes aside, like I thought that his real name was Michael Dorky.
Yeah. I did too. That's why I was calling him that, because I thought it was legitimately his name.
We were saying it so like professional, like we joke a lot on this podcast, but we wasn't even joking about it. We were just saying it so casually, like Michael Dorky, like Michael Dorky, okay, cool,
yeah.
And then we just kind of like was just saying it like so casually, like it didn't matter, and it like, sir, my name is Dorky, is Dorsey.
Well, he thought it was funny. He wasn't being like, sir, excuse me. He was like. I think it was actually because his brother John Dorsey is in this league, so I think I called his brother John Dorky because I just think he had the same name, and he's like, I showed my brother that, and he thought it was
the
hilarious.
Dorky brothers.
Just so you know, his name is Dorsey. Then like,
okay. I don't want to ruin the joke anymore by dwelling on it. I don't.
Okay.
I'm laughed out. I don't think it could get any funnier than that. I don't think it can.
So right now,
that was pretty damn funny. That was pretty damn funny.
Right now, Michael Dorsey from Hanging with Hernandez, Ian Plank from Burrow's left leg, and the fucking bot, by the way, are all on pace to win their game right now. Now that we got to see what's happening, with this. Actually, I don't know right now. When I wrote up these notes, that was the case. But I can probably go ahead and check Yahoo Fantasy right now, because that's the platform we're using. So right now, the looks like the Eagles and Cowboys are Eagles are not doing so well. 27-14 Eagles. So right now, let's see what we got. We got the you go to the league. So what did I say? I said Ian Plank, Michael Dorsey, and the bot. So the bot is actually now bot's not doing so hot. Bot actually might lose now to Cameron Matthews Renegades. So right now Cameron Matthews is actually on pace to win that game. When I wrote up these notes, it looked like the bot was going to win.
So what you're saying, Kyle, is the bot ain't hot.
The bot is not hot. That's correct.
The bot isn't doing too hot right now.
God damn it. Ian Plank. Let's see. Ian Plank from Burrow's left leg. Oh, actually, well, my notes are just trash, because it looks like Brad McGee from the annexation of Puerto Rico is actually projected to win that game now. He's actually gotten more. He actually currently has more points than Burrow's left leg is projected to get. So
I love your names, by the way. You guys are killing it with the names. I love the names.
Yeah, some of these names, man, are insane. Then there's like, well, anyway, I'm not there's you and Debbie who just use the generic names. And the bot's a generic name too. Nick's
I changed my name eventually.
Okay. And then let's see, what was the other one? Michael Dorsey. So he's got he's still on pace to beat Nobody's Perfect, which is his brother John Dorsey. As things currently stand, I am not anymore. I was the highest scoring team of the week when I wrote up these notes, but now it looks like Brad has gotten ahead of me. Ian's also got ahead of me. So both of those teams in that same game got ahead of me. So right now I'm in third place as far as highest scoring team, but I did beat off in church. Fuck you, Jan.
I mean, come on.
That's what he named his team. I have to say it. Fuck you, Jan. So yeah,
let's move on.
That's pretty much. Before we move on to the state of the AFC North, I do want to highlight this game between me and Jan, because it came down to the absolute fucking wire. It was insane. I had, as of when I first started looking at these games, I was having terrible performances from George Kittle and Trey Sermon, and I did confirm that I had terrible performances from Tyreek Hill and Joe Mixon and Kyler Murray. when I checked in on this game initially. I left Zach Moss, who got 16.6 points, and Jalen Waddle, 11.8 points, both on the bench. So it looked like Jam was going to come away with the win. But in the waning minutes of that Sunday Night Football game last night, Trey Sermon found his way into the end zone, and I took a .92 point lead. Problem is, he still had Robbie Gould on his bench. So if the 49ers get a touchdown from somebody other than George Kittle or Trey Sermon, Robbie Gould could overtake that .92 point lead with just a single point from getting the extra point. Luckily for me, Trey Sermon did get that touchdown, but he also got he got the touchdown later once I had already won. But what happened was Trey Sermon got he got like a 10-yard carry or something like that gave him just enough yards to put me ahead by more than a full point. And then Jimmy Garoppolo fumbled the ball on like the next play, so it pretty much killed any shot of Robbie Gould getting a shot at having some points without like Trey Sermon getting another shot. And then George Kittle later on basically won the game for me with a 39-yard catch just before the 2-minute warning. So it was kind of I've never like kind of had my eyes like been sitting on the edge of my seat quite so much with a fantasy football matchup before. But that thing, like I said, came down to a wire, and I ended up beating off in church.
It's the delivery for me. It's the delivery for me. Like the delivery is just like you just say it, and then you just go about it like you didn't just say it. And then like I know I shouldn't be expecting
trying to avoid it.
I should be expecting it, but it's like I'm trying to stay professional. I'm trying to act like it's not there, but it's there.
Trying to stay professional on a podcast where we're talking about beating off in church. Like, come on.
Like it did like I don't want to repeat it because I don't want to get struck down, but it's really hilarious. It's kind of like a South Park vibe, but at the same time, I'm just like, you're just saying it, and then you're just saying it,
and then just the silence of the podcast itself, like while you're trying to process what just happened.
Like, and then like, okay, keep on going. Just keep on.
All right. So congratulations to the teams that won, and that sucks for the teams that lost. I'm 3-0, and I'm enjoying that. So let's move on to the state of the AFC North. The fucking Ravens absolutely got away with murder against the Lions.
They should have lost.
Like that was not even like. Okay, so like first of all, it was just bullshit that Lamar Jackson like on 4th and 19, like the game's basically over if you don't like just have a huge desperation Hail Mary. And what did they get? A huge desperation Hail Mary. And they got the ball to the Lions' 48-yard line and spiked the ball with 7 seconds left. Then Justin Tucker comes out after they throw an incomplete pass, like just trying to set things up a little bit. Justin Tucker nails an NFL record 66-yard field goal to save the Ravens from losing to the fucking Lions. And you know what? You got to give the Ravens credit. They won the game. A win's a win. But y'all struggled against the Lions, just saying. And the Lions are maybe the worst team in the NFL right now.
No, that's Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, okay, the Jaguars are pretty bad. The Lions, I guess, have been kind of up and down, but they're definitely a bottom 5 team. And the Ravens struggle with them. The Ravens, I felt, have looked pretty mortal this season, and kind of a lot of what we talked about was going to happen. The Ravens were going to have a bit of a regression year. Not quite the same way the Steelers are having, but a bit of a regression year. And before we analyze that a little bit more, I just want to say the Ravens did lose. The Ravens did lose that game because the Ravens had a delay of game on the final play before Justin Tucker's field goal that didn't get called. If that game had got called, then I guess technically they could have thrown a ball to a receiver real quick and the guy got out of bounds, and it would have been, enough room for Justin Tucker to make that field goal. But if that delay of game had got called the way it should have, which, by the way, both the announcer and Boomer Esiason were like talking like what are you doing? It's like the announcer was like 3, 2, they better get the snap off, 1, and then the clock hit 0, and it was almost 2 entire seconds later that the Ravens snapped that ball and threw it out of bounds. And nobody, like none of the referees did anything about it. All the credit in the world. Lamar Jackson for throwing that huge bomb, and Justin Tucker for breaking an NFL record to win that game. And they pulled victory from the jaws of defeat, blah, 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 blah. But it should have been a penalty that would have pushed the Ravens back to the Lions 43. And that Justin Tucker kick hit the crossbar, bounced in. So an extra 5 yards, he wouldn't have made that kick. So all I'm saying is the Ravens did lose that game. The Ravens should not be credited with the win in this game. The Lions should be credited with the win. But either way, the Ravens should be 1-2 right now. The Ravens absolutely 100% should be 1-2 right now. And they got losses to a Raiders team that is looking a lot better than I think a lot of us looked or expected, but also really sloppy looking Raiders team, and a Detroit Lions team that is just not good, guys. So I'm taking this as about as close as you can get to a demoralizing victory.
I'm looking at Lamar's stats this game. Yeah, 51% completion rating, completion percentage.
Well, and also he threw an interception. With like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's part of the reason that the Lions ended up basically, like I said, why the Lions ended up winning that game. And I'm going to keep saying that way because that's what happened.
He's been fumbling that ball a lot, by the way.
Yeah, he has been.
Look, man, let me not be too critical.
Is kind of problematic.
But he got to do it all himself, though.
Well, it's true.
But okay, so so I don't want to really insult him though, because because they're winning though, they're finding ways to win. But how sustainable is it?
It's not. That's my point. It's not sustainable. First of all, they did not find a way to win against the Lions. They lost.
Look, they lost
due to a complete and unacceptable oversight in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinions, by the way, in Boomer Esiason's opinion, in the announcer of that game's opinion, it was an unacceptable oversight, and the Ravens should have been credited with a loss in that game. Lamar Jackson and Justin Tucker did not find Justin Tucker, I guess you can say, but then again, Justin Tucker missed a field goal in that game, by the way. But all I'm saying is people are like, oh, they found a way to win that game, and I'm like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. Unless they paid the refs, which I don't think that's what happened. I think the refs made a mistake, but they did not find a way to win that game. That they got credited with the win that is incorrect. It's not just unfair. It's incorrect. They did not win that game. Justin Tucker would not have made a 71-yard field goal. He just wouldn't have.
The fact of the matter is that the whole thing is that they are, unfortunately, they are winning. They are 2-1 in the day, and that's credit. That's credit to the culture and everything. But I don't think that.
No, it's not. The only thing you can say is they have the numbers, and at the end of the year, they're going to be in whatever place they are in the playoff race because they have that number. But right now, I consider them to be a 1-2 team. Just flat out. The only team they beat was who did they beat?
The Chiefs.
Okay. So they beat the Chiefs, which is pretty damn good, by the way. I mean, I will give them credit for that. But they lost to a sloppy-looking Raiders team, and they lost. Yes, they lost to a bad-looking Lions team. So look, miss me with this culture bullshit because they're 1-2 right now.
They're gonna lose next week.
Who do they play next week?
The Broncos.
Yeah, I think the Broncos will, wake them up.
It's that Broncos defense for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Broncos defense has been one of the best, and not the best in the league. The Broncos defense has been insane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, like I said, but I was mentioning earlier, like the
Broncos are 3-0
out of
right
all the teams the Jaguars have played, I think the Broncos are the only team that's comparable to the Bengals defense wise, and they held Trevor Lawrence to a 37.3 quarterback rating, which I don't care who you are, that's an accomplishment. Unless you're Nathan Peterman, but
Broncos look good.
Right.
The Broncos look good. But anyway, we'll get to the Broncos later. So I just don't. I'm with you though. I don't think long. I think I talked about it. I said that I think the Ravens are going to start off hot, and then they're going to start to cool down because that's what they always do. They always start the season off hot, and then teams have to figure them out. But they got a tough 4-game stretch.
They do.
Honestly, I'm sitting here looking at it.
They haven't really started the season hot at all. They barely beat the Chiefs. Now they did beat the Chiefs. You got to give them credit for beating the Chiefs, but they still barely beat the Chiefs.
They're probably going to lose 3 out of the next 4 games.
I think that they could easily be 0-3 right now.
They're going to lose 3 out of the next 4 games. They're going to lose to the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Bengals. They're going to beat the Colts. They're going to lose. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
For the sake of time, I think we should probably go ahead and move on to the Steelers and then wrap this up. Yep. But I'm just going to start this by saying the only thing I can possibly say right now. You know what? No, actually, I have one thing that I definitely want to say first, and that's the Steelers still suck.
Okay, indeed do.
And then the other thing I was going to say is the Steelers are a fucking dumpster fire right now. It's not even. What do you even do at this point if you're the Steelers? Other than just pack it up. Let's see what happens next season. Maybe try to play for draft positioning at this point. But the Steelers are terrible. Ben Roethlisberger, terrible. That offensive line is terrible.
I think the funny thing is them trying to convince themselves that they're not bad.
That's just Steelers fans for you. But Steelers fans kept saying "Oh, you don't get so excited about this game. We had our entire starting defensive line out with injuries." And again, guys, don't forget that we were dealing with some injuries on our end too. And
yeah, we are too. I don't look that bad.
Yeah, we were starting Eli Apple for Christ's sake. All Ben had to do was just throw to whoever Eli Apple was covering all game, and you probably find a way to win that game that way. It's not hard. That's how you beat our defense right now is you throw to Eli Apple.
Man, why you hating on Eli Apple so much, man? That's why I'm going to pick up my next underrated player of the week when he have a good game.
He's terrible.
Well, you better have one good game. Well, underrated player of the week.
You know what? I will give the award to Eli Apple myself if he has a good game, but he hasn't done it.
No. If you have a good game, you give it to me because I'm going to eat it.
Okay, you can have it. I don't care. I'm just saying I will gladly eat my words if Eli Apple has a good game, but he's not going to because he sucks.
By the way, Dak Prescott missing all these open receivers to find an open receiver because the Philadelphia Eagles defense sucks. Why are we watching NFC East football? Why do you keep on doing this to me, NFL? Why? You have so many great teams. The NFL, you can literally make an argument for 10 different teams to win a Super Bowl.
Because
the Cowboys versus the Eagles.
Because the Eagles and the Cowboys have these loud fan bases that everybody thinks that they want to see them compete.
We are a great rivalry. But your rivalries suck. How the hell is Philadelphia a rivalry with Dallas?
Well, I don't know, but it's just always been a thing. Even though the Eagles have never been. The Eagles are basically think about what the Bengals would be like if the Bengals butt fumbled their way into a Super Bowl at some point. That's what the Eagles are. The Eagles are basically just the Bengals, except they won a Super Bowl at one time.
You got the Browns and the Steelers whose fans bleed into each other's territory. You got the Bengals and the Browns who share the same state with each other. You got the Browns and the Ravens, a team that stole another team's team. That's a rivalry.
I agree.
You got the Bears and the Packers.
AFC North teams on We need to see more AFC North matchups on like
the AFC North is the AFC North is the best division because the rivalries in the AFC North are like no other in sports. Because every single team had a real reason to hate each other in AFC North.
That is true. And you know why I hate Steelers fans, by the way? You want to know the real reason why I hate Steelers fans?
Mm-hmm.
They are the most absolutely unbelievably spoiled ass, and it's obviously it's not every single Steelers fan. I do want to point out my buddy Josh went to like the Steelers game in like the Bengals Steelers game in Pittsburgh this week, and he was talking about there was all these nice Steelers fans around me, and it was kind of cool. And it's like I've been to Pittsburgh a few times, like there's some good people there, like there are good Steelers fans out there, but the loudest Steelers fans are the ones who are just the most spoiled, obnoxious, like got people who do not know how to shut up ever. It's not just that the Steelers have been successful. If it was just that the Steelers were like the Ravens are successful, and I don't hate them. I don't like them, but I don't hate them. But the Steelers fans are just incessantly obnoxious for the sake of itself. Did you see? I don't know if you watched like the highlights or whatever of that Bengals Steelers game, Thomas, but the Steelers fans were booing their own team relentlessly during the game. Y'all just won the division championship last year, you fake ass fair weather fans. What the fuck is wrong with your fan base, dude? Like Bengals fans boo their team when they've been bad for years and everything feels hopeless. Steelers fans turn on their team the year after they win a division championship and they have a couple bad games. Like, what a joke.
Oh, because I think Steelers fans realize how freaking bad this team really is.
I mean, I'm just saying it's too early.
It's like what I said on a freaking AFC North Facebook page, and people and all the Steelers fans jumped on me. I'm like, okay, look, I know it was gonna age. I knew for a fact that would age well. I knew for a fact that age well. I wonder if I can find. I just knew that I would age well because I knew that the freaking Steelers that the Steelers are a phony, like how you were last year, and you were like, hey man, the Steelers, man, they're a phony ass 11-0 football team. It's literally what you said. Yeah. Those are your exact words. And I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I see, like this is exactly what I wrote on the page, verbatim. I said, Steelers fans talking smack about the Browns while their quarterback, Steelers quarterback, can't throw a ball 15 yards down the field. Y'all in trouble. And I know it. I can hear y'all already. Same old Browns. But honestly, it's the same old cliche argument that you sheep have, with no perception of the future or change. While the Browns and the Bengals are rising, the Steelers have the worst offense in the league. We'll see how long their defense can bail them out. Because apparently it wasn't that long. We'll see how long their defense could bail them out. Last year it took them 11 games. Last year it took them 11 games. Now here come the trash ass, cliche, unintelligent argument from Pittsburgh. Y'all suck. This aged very well, by the way. This aged very freaking well. This aged like wine. It's only been a couple weeks. I'm saving this post.
All right.
You suck, Pittsburgh.
I think that's probably all we got. Oh my God. I love how much the Steelers are imploding. And they've been doing it for a few years now, by the way, ever since like probably about near the end of 2017, 2018. That's when all this shit started. And it's just been an avalanche, and I am enjoying every fucking second of it. And I hope that they do this for another 10 years because that's what they deserve. But anyway, guys, that's it for this episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast. The first episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast, part of the Around the Block podcast network. At least I assume that's what I think is going on here. I mean, we're definitely going to be on their platform and everything like that. So, and I think that's what they call it. But if not, that's what I'm calling it. So, we got all this. We got all these new fun toys and tools to.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, look, thank you, y'all. Like, we appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Like we appreciate the platform. We're gonna make y'all proud. Promise y'all.
I had so much fun a couple days ago just playing around with like overlays and all these different like I said, all these different tools that you can use in StreamYard and all these like different like things that Around the Block just let me use because they already have an account set up for this stuff. And they're like, well, you're part of our team now, so you go ahead and use whatever you need to. And it kind of reminds me back when I worked for
Cincy Jungle,
and Cincy Jungle let me work with a bunch of different tools and stuff like that. And it just makes doing stuff like this so much more of a fulfilling experience, So, but anyway, shout out to Around the Block for doing that. And don't forget to go check out atbnetwork.com to check out a lot of the good writing and stuff on there. I'm doing writing for Bengals like once or twice a week, depending on what I feel like. And then also producing this podcast. But anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Comment down below if you have any thoughts about anything we talked about this week or anything that you want to see, or if maybe you want to come on an episode, hit me or Thomas up, and we'll find time to get you on. We always love having people on. Yep. But thank you so much for watching. You can always find more of what I do at Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter. And actually, I think you can see it on the display names here. So you got, for me, it's at Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter. I'm also at facebook.com/the Phelps. I'm a little bit less football centric on Facebook than I am on Twitter, but I still post plenty of football stuff on Facebook. And then you can find Thomas at T_star94 on Twitter and Instagram. And he's got a YouTube page called the Thomas J Network, which is also the name of his TikTok, which has been blowing up. So y'all going to want to go check all that out. Like I said, thanks for listening, everybody. I'll leave y'all with Houday.